My name's Darcy Fisher. I will be doing my best to moderate this exciting project show and tell and graduation session. A little about me would include that I'm a Canadian citizen with over 15 years of experience living and working here in Kenya. I've been honored to support Invest in Africa since about November of 2022. My professional background would include executive experience in a variety of sectors such as manufacturing, public health, and nonprofit organizations. In addition to this, I've owned and operated a business consulting organization since about 2011. Again, I'm excited to moderate today, and we'll get right into it for the sake of time. We have a number of parts planned for today, including a number of speakers, of which I will introduce at that time. And we also have a show and tell panel discussion followed by a graduation ceremony that we will be doing virtually. Before I start this, I do want to welcome everyone here today online. I would also like to take a moment and acknowledge our partners, our partners and implementing partners, which would include Small Foundation, World University Service of Canada, Base Titanium, NCBC Bank, Transparency International, Energy Africa, Smart Regional Consultants, and MNexus. I welcome everyone here online to continue to introduce yourself using the meeting chat box. If you could provide your name, your organization, designation, website, any of that information, including your current location, would be great. I also welcome you to post your questions and comments today in the chat box, and raise your hand if you wish to go ahead and speak and ask a question. Please be prepared and look out for the feedback link that will be posted in the chat box at the end of today's session. Our first guest speaker today will be Terry, Country Manager for Invest in Africa, Kenya. Terry, I welcome you today. Thank you for this opportunity to moderate today's session. Terry, please take it away.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you all. Good afternoon, good evening. I know we do have guests joining us from different parts of the world, and thank you very much for making the time to join us. The reason I was smiling very hard at the beginning is because I was introduced as a guest speaker, whereas really I am the country manager of Invest in Africa. Today's session is brought to you in partnership with the GIZ Business Scouts for Development, who have been our funding partner for the project that has brought us together today, upscaling manufacturing of small and medium enterprises in natural products clusters in Kenya and Uganda. So I would like to acknowledge our partner, GIZ Business Scouts for Development program. You will hear from them shortly after this, but first I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce Invest in Africa very briefly and to give us an overview of this program that has brought us together today. So Invest in Africa is a network of very diverse stakeholders, as you can see from the map we have drawn out there. And we have come together because we share in the mission of empowering enterprises to create sustainable jobs. So, because no one person can be able to empower enterprises adequately to take up their seat, their driver's seat in in our economy, we have collaborated to bring initiatives across three main pillars of access to finance, access to markets, and access to skills. Invest in Africa is across various countries. As you can see our flags there, Kenya, Ghana, Senegal, and Mauritania, but we do have projects in additional markets, including Uganda, which we run from Kenya. As Darcy has said, some of our partners are actually with us here today. I've mentioned JZ Business Scouts for Development Program, which is a development partner. We do have Small Foundation. I've seen Finola in the room. Thank you very much. We do have World University Service of Canada, as Darcy has said, and Base Titanium. We also have in the room our implementing partners, Anteja Africa. I've seen Dr. Gad and I've seen David and Getchu. We have SRC, Smart Regional Consultants, as well as M Nexus. I have seen Michael in the room. So thank you very much for joining us today. And the reason I've just taken a moment to acknowledge our partners is because being a network, every impact that we have is really very collaboratively brought. And we are also champions of a networks approach with the mindset that all of society has come together for us to be able to adequately or even reasonably resolve some of our systemic challenges. Having said that, then I do not need to touch so much on the slide of our mission. I think I've put it across quite clearly that although we have very diverse key pivotal stakeholders, our primary stakeholder is the micro, small, and medium enterprise who our mission is centered around, because we are believers that they are the drivers of economic and social change, landscape, and development here in East Africa, and particularly this moment in terms of Invest in Africa Kenya here in Kenya. I've talked about our three main pillars, and for access to markets, we have built a very unique matchmaking platform, biashara.now, for our non-Swahili speaking guests. That means business now. And the reason it has the .now is because it's a technology platform. It's available through a website that we have put in our chat, www.biasharanow.com. If you can click on it and explore, but it's also on your Google Play Store. So I would invite everyone today to have a look at our biashara.now, where we have registered over 5,000 MSMEs, including at least a third of those being smallholder farmers. And our main aim is to grant them the requisite skills to catalyze trade and investment with larger organizations. For access to skills, we have a Biashara Academy, and this program has been one upskilling program where we have had quite a bit of capacity building. You'll hear from I'll introduce briefly through the program, but you'll also hear from some of the participants about their experience and different outcomes and impact they have had from the program. And finally, access to finance, because one of the key challenges that micro, small, and medium enterprises have is to access finance. And we work to make sure that for the rural SMEs, they are bank ready, and for everyone else, the investor ready to access the type of financing that they need to get their businesses either resilient or growing in the various sectors that they are in. So we work across various sectors, but we have a bias towards certain thematic areas. And this is because they, to us, are the areas that we can make greatest impact in as far as our positive impact of enhancing livelihoods and creating sustainable jobs is concerned. Our overarching theme, and this really came to us from the onset of COVID 19, where the vulnerability of micro, small, and medium enterprises was extremely exposed. And we have consistently, over the last few years, been focusing on MSME resilience, where we are applying the networks approach to convene all key and diverse stakeholders to and catalyze that collaboration towards building the resilience of these enterprises so that they can withstand the current business environment, which we know is very volatile and certain, complex, ambiguous, and getting more and more so each and every year. And the main idea is that through this, we are able to achieve positive impact of sustaining the existing jobs, meaning that we can curtail the attrition of MSMEs from the market. We can create new jobs, enhance community livelihoods, and contribute overall to prospering economies. And our subsectors, therefore, are diverse risk management. We are heavy on agriculture and food, and this sector has this project has been one of the projects that have touched on this sector. We are also keenly focused on gender equality and social inclusion, environmental sustainability and climate action. And because SMEs are drivers of innovation and are really contributing to an improved quality of life, we want to ensure that they are empowered to effectively innovate, and also infrastructure to ensure value addition, and that they can receive greater value themselves and profitability to be able to achieve the impact. We have talked about the positive impact. We have our impact numbers there, and I know these slides may be shared later so you can have a keen look at it, but I would like to take a moment to introduce our project that has brought us together today, which we named Upscaling SME Manufacturers in Natural Products Clusters, both in Kenya and in Uganda. I've mentioned that the project was in partnership with GIZ Business Codes for Development Program. It has run for a duration of 16 months, kicking off in November 2021 and concluding in March 2023. And we were really aiming to develop and upscale 40 beneficiaries through capacity building and creating viable market and financial linkages. The sectors, the clusters that we went forward with was avocado and coconut in Kenya, moringa and shea in Uganda. You'll hear a bit about that. We undertook a cluster assessment and ended up selecting those 4 clusters, and you will hear a bit about the impact we have had there. There are 5 main modules which were informed by a needs assessment quite early: good manufacturing practice, traceability and transparency using digital tools, access to finance and access to markets, and finally, new product development. And the key areas we impacted was to demonstrate improved competitiveness in these main module areas, to make sure that we are giving both market and financial linkages, that digitalization by the companies is achieved so that it can enhance their transparency and traceability for market accessibility, and that we can showcase the impact, the outcomes, and the SME storytelling. So the reason that last point is there is because today is the culmination, and because we would like to acknowledge and graduate our participants, who I would very much like to acknowledge at this point, even before the graduation. But we have been having their success stories ongoing on social media and different platforms throughout the program. A bit of the program in action. So we had master classes which were delivered both virtually and online within the 5 program modules that were informed by a very comprehensive needs assessment, and they had various program activities ranging from facilitated training. We had peer learning, presentation of their products, as you can see right there on the top right hand photo. We had practical sessions, group work, among others. And if we consider the digitalization element, they were introduced to concepts of transparency and traceability using digital tools. They understood the importance of this in terms of accessing particularly international markets, and they onboarded on the Fit2 app digital transparency and traceability tool. which we worked in collaboration with Anteja Africa, who are also in the room. I acknowledged them a bit earlier, and which we will continue to strengthen their digitalization journey even beyond this project, because the participants have already become members of Bishara.now platform, and therefore will continue to benefit beyond the project, and with particular focus on digitalization, which is really the area that will help to access those international markets. So what you're seeing on your screen are some sample profiles on the Fito app of some of our participants, three companies represented here today, great global traders. As you can see, the avocados, we have Mocha Beauty, and we have Priceless Farms. So I will ask one of my colleagues to just drop a link in the meeting chat box if you would like to see a little bit more about any of these companies and understand what this kind of step forward has done in terms of visibility of how they source, how they manufacture, and ensuring the trust, enhanced trust by customers and buyers. To access markets, a number of participants attended the Anuga Food Tech Fair in Cologne in Germany last year in April, where they were able to interact with different technologies that are enhancing standards of manufacturing. They also this year attended the BioFAC trade fair also in Germany, and were able to access various potential buyers abroad in Germany. And last year in December, they attended the East Africa Community Juakali Trade Fair, which was held in Kampala in December. And again, we had not just market opening up for them, we also had great opportunities of collaboration and contract manufacturing with others in their sectors. Part of their capacity building was also through Biashara exchange tours to production facilities, and this was mainly to support both the good manufacturing practices module as well as new product development. Therefore, they toured facilities to ideally learn what is best practice, what are the various technologies that are in place that they for their consideration, but they were also coached and mentored, including peer mentorship amongst themselves in terms of how can they move this new knowledge that they have learned within from this program to implementation. And some of the successful outcomes they have had was collaboration and partnerships amongst one another. We have had contract manufacturing linkages among each other, as well as market linkages. They have provided markets for one another, and new products have been developed and launched in the markets. You will hear about this as we hear about the participants. Access to finance module didn't just enable them to develop profiles which they could use to pitch to potential financiers and investors. They actually participated in last year's Mastercard Foundation High Innovator Competition, and all three SMEs who pitched from this program were actually winners and were awarded USD 20,000 each. That included Sage, Mumijen, and Tecoma Uganda. You can see their logos right there, and we'll be hearing more about the access to finance achievements outcomes, positive outcomes that have been achieved from this. So then, in closing, this brings me to a call to action for all of us, because I've said that we are a network and no one institution or organization, either in the public sector or in the private sector, will be able to really bring about systemic change. But it does indeed call for all of us together collaboratively in an all of society approach to be able to bring this systemic change. And one of the key things, as I mentioned, this project was within the agriculture sector, is that East African economies, and I'm saying this because the project was implemented both in Kenya and Uganda. Our participants are 40 in total, 20 in Kenya and 20 in Uganda. And the East African economies and livelihoods predominantly depend on this agricultural sector. In various countries within the East Africa communities, it accounts to 25% to 40% of the GDP, which is quite significant. Beyond that, the sector is employing 75 to 80% of the entire populations, and many of these are the marginalized, mainly the women, the youth, and more than 70% of all the industries are agro-based. So this we are talking about manufacturers, and they are depending on agriculture, just as the 70% of the others are, as the main source of their raw materials. So, of course, when you think about limited value addition, you think about outdated technology, it means that there's a great undermining of the profitability, sustainability of these enterprises within the sector. So, I have a 3 point. Sorry, I have echo. Thank you. Thank you. I was just meeting someone. So I have a 3 point call for action to all network members and all of us who are there. Firstly, is that there's greater need to collaborate to improve the food and agriculture sector's performance. And the UN noted about a decade ago, 2 decades ago, that a decline in agriculture has far-reaching implications in terms of employment and income inequality, as well as food security for the country. 2 decades later, here we are really facing food insecurity, as it were, very high unemployment rate, and also just not having resilient businesses means even the jobs that are currently in place are at risk. Improved agricultural production has been seen as one of the overall objectives for poverty reduction in our region, and it's particularly important for increasing rural incomes, ensuring equitable distribution. Therefore, by collaborating together as pivotal, as key stakeholders, whether public or private sector, but within our network, agricultural productivity can be increased, farmer incomes can be raised, more people can be fed, and indeed just the general economic welfare can be enhanced. So SMEs need to be empowered through capacity building, certification for key standards and linkages to regional and international markets, and also effective financing put in place to ensure that overall we are positively impacting the performance of the sector. Another area that I would ask for call for action for collaboration is around enhancing agricultural research. So there's currently insufficient research really in terms of this sector, what is best practice, what can strengthen supply, innovation, and industrialization, and sufficient research would enhance effective engagement of all stakeholders to make sure that we are supporting small and medium enterprises to enhance diversification, strengthen vertical integration. And when I talk about diversification, it is particularly in some of the clusters that have higher value crop, which is one of the main areas that we went for with this project, looking at shea, moringa, looking at coconut and avocado. But the third ask is also around championing sustainable sector practice. So I have talked about building SME resilience, and one of the areas that has affected the sector is that SMEs attrition rate has been so high, there will be sufficient need for risk mapping and mitigation around areas, for example, carbon reduction, human rights, and to make sure that these SMEs then are producing and manufacturing sustainably, that they are becoming resilient and can contribute to resilient economies. That is it. I'd like to end right there with a big thank you to all who came together to make this project a success. And I'd like to acknowledge and thank all our small and medium enterprises who worked so tirelessly to learn, to grow, to upscale, and to come to this finish point. And I look forward to your graduation in a few moments. Thank you. Back to you, Darcy.
Thank you very much, Terry. Although I was not part of the GIZ project from start to finish, I've really learned about the positive impacts of it to further seek of the impacts and the good work, I also would like to invite Moses Mahouf, Senior Program Advisor for the Business Scouts and Development Program to speak on behalf of the project. Moses, please go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, Darcy, for the opportunity. Munuve, so it seems like it's a difficult name to pronounce. It's Moses Munuve, but there is a much easier local version where I come from. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you are. My name is Moses, working with GIZ, and I've been a partner in this project for some time. Today, however, two things are happening concurrently. I'm indisposed. I'm coming down with a cold and I'm not feeling quite good. And my laptop also similarly decided to misbehave, so I'm calling in by the phone. We have remarks prepared, and my colleague Eda will be reading the remarks. But before she does, I would also wish to very passionately and heartfelt send my thank you and warm regards to all the partners that are invited, all the partners in the network. I know that's not mentioned in the remarks, but it's interesting and also very gratifying to see that you have brought all your partners on board for this important occasion. So we wish you all well, and we thank you, and we hope for future opportunities to still continue working together for the benefit of Kenya, for the benefit of our SMEs and the jobs that they create. Thank you very much. I will be listening in, but Eda will be taking on the notes.
Thank you very much, Moses, for the remarks. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. And to those who might be not be in our timeline, also maybe in other parts of the world, those are my morning greetings. So my name is Eda Otino from the Business Scouts for Development program, which is a part of a larger GIZ and the German Development Corporation community. Moses has already spoke, and we together and the Business Scouts are happy to bring regards from also our project management and the GIZ leadership here in Kenya. So specially and specifically, I want to appreciate Invest in Africa for this opportunity to make the remarks in this graduation ceremony. And I also look back in the journey we have worked together since 2021, when we started brainstorming with our partner Invest in Africa on a project idea. So it was at the height of COVID, as many of you know what it threw at us, and we could not even meet in person. Just like every other person, and every other person, we were trying to adapt to new systems, new working environment, and also working and trusting strangers that or who we have even never met before. So eventually, we were able to agree on this project that we are finalizing here today, and we kicked it off in around October 2021, as Terry had already mentioned. So our partner Invest in Africa had to start the project the recruitment of partner SMEs, which is actually the ideal very first step. And also in that difficult implementation environment of unpredictable lockdowns, especially since the project was spanning to Kenya and also Uganda. So we found that in the large part, we were also dealing with strangers. They're also dealing with strangers who they had not met previously, but they still believed in them and managed to get the project off the ground. So just imagine working during the COVID pandemic time, everyone is a stranger to each other. But as GIZ, we were able to partner with SMEs and also Invest in Africa. Invest in Africa at the same time also able to get implementing partners like Dr. Geared and also the rest of every other institutions to work with. So it was a tough yet interesting time. So embarking on recruitment of consultants and coaches was also another walk of faith, as it was done entirely virtually. So we have to therefore celebrate that Invest in Africa have had done a wonderful work in the delivery during the difficult circumstances. Sorry. So we also celebrate all the parties involved, SMEs, implementing partners, and in making it also look easy when it really was not easy. So despite the few challenges that we also faced and that we have all learned from, the project has had a great success for us, for all the parties involved. It was also possible to meet milestones agreed in terms of linkages to finance and markets, as Terry has mentioned. So additionally, the project was able to expose SMEs to topics on good manufacturing practices, transparency, and traceability solutions. So it's also a pressure from our side to note that two experts who dealt with these two very important topics are also sharing their experiences here today. And in a few minutes, you'll be able to also hear what they say about their experience overall. So we hope that this event does not mark an end, but it is actually a milestone in the journey for both Invest in Africa and any other resource persons, and also to our SMEs that also were very good participants in this project. So we challenge Invest in Africa at this point, or to also find ways to scale up this project and also these services to even more SMEs in the sector, which is not always in the forefront when it comes to visibility. So many more SMEs out there still lack those important skills of getting ready for and accessing finances. So getting ready for and accessing to premium, domestic, and also export markets. So producing innovative and competitive products and telling their stories and the story of the value chain in a transparent and also a traceable manner. In fact, we dare say that even the SMEs that were part of this project still have a long way to go to be able to optimize on those possibilities. They know that there is no end in learning. So at the end of the day, we will learn, we'll relearn, and we'll also unlearn. So there'll always be the next levels for them to reach, of course, and there'll be more room for them to expand even into, and they know that they don't have to walk the journey alone. So there are experts everywhere, all over the world, either in locally or in Europe or in other parts of the world, who would even shorten this learning curve for our SMEs. So it's always important also for them to not look at the finances sometimes that are involved, but to look at where do they want to go at the end of the day. And there are partners, a lot of partners out here who are also willing to support, like now GIZ and also Invest in Africa. So it's good to recall and report also, some of the SMEs in the project were also supported to participate in study tours, exhibitions, both in Europe and also in East Africa, like the MSME Joakali Fair in Uganda. So much as sales were closed, the idea was to expose them to trends and market information in the sectors. Someone's mic is on. Please mute. So they could also check up competition and market leaders and learn from them as well. So they could also meet with buyers, enablers, and also understand some of the market demands out there. So it's importantly encouraging to note that some even got orders, which they fulfilled and on their way to establishing strong markets and relationships with counterparts in Europe and also within East Africa. So it would also be nice to hear from the SMEs taking advantage of these international market exposures to showcase their competitiveness and also grow their markets within and also outside. So overall, we have to look at the evaluations the SMEs also gave for their participation in the project. And I'm glad, and particularly as business scouts, we are glad to note that there were very positive reviews. So it's wholly gratifying and fulfilling to see that they are perceived it was beneficial to them. So the title of the project, as Terry had mentioned, was Upscaling SMEs in the Natural Products. So we are happy that this project lived to the intent and all SMEs reported scaling up in one way or the other. Many have retained their jobs and others have also expanded to that matter. Many have retained their markets, others have expanded. And we also hope for a sustainable growth and scaling of these SMEs in their very many areas. So finally, I also must remind us of the long-standing partnership between the GDC and Kenya. The GIZ is proud to offer technical cooperation over many years with both the public and also the private sector. So, and as I come to the end of my speech today, I would just like to say a parting shot, and my parting shot goes, paper to practice towards sustainable economies and development. So this is really coming from the call to action that Terry just presented. So it's good to have it from paper as a recommendation or as learnings to putting it to also practice so that it is made sustainable, it is made scalable, and also we develop our economies. So with those very many of few remarks, I know I have spoke a lot. And on behalf of the Business Scouts community, I'd like to wish you all the best outcomes in your endeavors, in your work, and also in your engagements ahead. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Invest in Africa and the partners. Thank you. Back to you, Desi.
Thank you, Etta, Moses, and Terry for this. Especially wish to recognize your collaboration together in designing this work and making this all possible. It is now time that we will hear from the participants. So we will be playing a short video about 6 minutes long to hear of their experience, more about the results and the impact of all this work. Gloria, my colleague, if you could play the video now, please.
Hi, my name is Vitu Karega. I am the founder and owner of Binti Naturals. We are an organic skincare company that makes mostly body products. My goal for the company is really just growth and for it to be a bigger, more successful company.
My name is Naftali Kithinji. I'm the owner of Ionashi Africa Organics, together with Martin Mwimbi. Our main aim is to deal with the natural beauty products. We're trying to give an alternative to what is in the market.
Actually, at the time when I was applying for the program, I was a little bit conflicted about what direction to take the company in. I was at a place where I was looking to pivot and I didn't know how to pivot. So I applied for the program hoping that I would be able to get information, direction on how to pivot, and that's exactly what the program did for me.
Well, I think for every startup that is in the journey of growth, we will face a lot of challenges. One, as the two founders, you are everything in the company. Whether you call yourself the CEO, you're still the guy doing the manufacturing and all that. So the main challenge is always on how do you organize and structure your company, as well as how do you get that access, that platform that you can grow into.
My experience in the program was really rewarding. I was really impressed by the staff that was curated in the program. The thing that was really important for me was good manufacturing practices and new product development. New product development was exactly what I needed to be able to now plan in advance for new lines, new products, new channels to explore. The good manufacturing practices was also good because it allowed us to look at how to improve our manufacturing processes. It allowed me to ask more, more in-depth questions with my suppliers about the sourcing, about the testing, about the quality of product.
Getting that chance to be invest in Africa, upscaling manufacturing, was one of our biggest achievement and opportunity to grow. In terms of the lessons that stood out for us, one was access to finance. I think for me, I had that theory that it's all about just accessing the money or borrowing. But there's a big difference in terms of credit and investments, and that we learned in terms of shares, giving out shares. How do you put yourself in that platform and be able to value yourself? I think for most SMEs and startups, we devalue ourselves. We don't know the kind of value that we have or the kind of value we are presenting also to the investors. So getting people and mentors to guide us in those platforms gives you that confidence that, you know what, I think I have something, my idea is something, and this is where I want to be. The other one was on product development. As a company, there is always that factor of you need to grow in terms of product development. We learned a lot from the M-Nexus group that it's not all about mixing products. There's formulations that you need to, and that's where most of the pricing comes from.
The biggest lesson that we've been able to implement since the program started is our GMP processes. We were able to improve how we document, improve how we go through our processing of the batters end to end, which has really made us more efficient. The thing that my biggest takeaway from the program was linkages. We went from having one single supplier of shea butter and cocoa butter to having multiple suppliers. I was able to also connect with another SME in the program and develop new products using baobab oil. But I think the biggest result of this program was us starting our own nursery to start growing our own shea and cocoa butter in Kenya.
So what we are actually implementing right now is on how do we get now a team and not in terms of a team, but getting investors into our company. So we are currently looking at or implementing the lessons on valuation. That has helped us in terms of how we even pitch our business idea to the market and to the interested parties.
I would really like to thank the GIZ, Business Scouts for Development and Invest in Africa, for giving us this opportunity to be in this program.
I hope it continues to be an incubation center even for other companies which are trying to come up.
I don't think that we would have been able to get the quality of training that we got if it wasn't for those two organizations coming together and giving us this opportunity to become better at manufacturing.
Cheers to GIZ, Business Scouts Development, for the exposure, going to that expo, Beauty Expo Viva 2023, BioFAC.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and continue doing the amazing work.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that video has come through clear for everyone. Certainly the testimonies of Thaytu and Naftali on how this work and this collaboration of this project has supported them to overcome the challenges that exist for SMEs and upscaling their businesses has really come through clearly in their testimony. So this is fantastic. At this time, I would like to go back to I'll ask my colleagues to support me with the slide deck at this time, and we're going to be now introducing another instrumental partner in this work, Dr. Gard Meyer Zoeknacker of Ataji, Africa, who was also involved in supporting this project, the implementation of this project through training and good manufacturing processes and transparency and traceability using digital tools. Dr. Gard, over to you, please.
Great. Thanks a lot, Darcy. And congratulations to everyone for these very impressive results. And yes, I'm very happy to join this session because cluster development, and that's what I'm going to talk about, is a pretty new approach. And I well remember when we have discussions with GIZ long time before, that in order to move this natural cosmetic sector further, we have to really focus a bit on the clustering approach. Do you have my slides available so that I can move further?
Yes, they're coming here, Dr. Gard.
It's coming? Okay. So I guess the success is quite obvious, and it was nicely presented in this by the previous presenters. So until hopefully my slides will come up, is that I would like to use the opportunity here that we raise awareness and attention, that we not just celebrate this really impressive project, rather than to think beyond. Because the original idea of this project, or this project, is embedded in many efforts done by GIZ, World Bank, and other international donors to bring this the sector, this very important sector of natural cosmetics, further. So we have this situation that on one side, and I was hoping to showing this, demonstrating this with my slides, but if not available, I will continue. We have on the global level, we have a huge increase of the demand of natural products. So we're just implementing a study for the World Bank in the European market and the North American market, which really shows natural cosmetic is on the rise. However, on the other side, there are only a comparable small share of East African SMEs to benefit. And this project, what we celebrate today, was intended to kick off a long-term initiative where companies which are participating today, these natural cosmetic companies, really get used how to cooperate all together. The competition companies like you face on the global market are not always the international competitors. Because there are other competitors you might not even aware of, and I guess thanks a lot. This project really contributed to make it more transparent. Then you can just jump, I guess, on the 5th or 6th slide. This makes, then we can jump over. I will take over, thanks. So here we have really a high demand, and what becomes clear is, here, this lady from West Africa is one of the key competitors you face, because there's an increasing demand for natural products coming from Africa. So we are not always competing against the international brands, which are currently struggling because the clients want to have nature products, which is your core business. So what I meant is you are competing on global level, even if you don't know this, with such companies like here, Natural Arbor, a very strong entrepreneurial spirit. It's also a small company, 5 employees, but this is a company who did everything right. They have a perfect marketing strategy. Quality is not an issue. They have a great story around their product because people in America and Europe who are buying nature products, they want to buy the African story. They want to feel good. They want to feel becoming part of this great activity. So you are facing a lot of small and medium enterprises in Western Africa, in Northern Africa, who basically have similar products like you. Shea butter is competing with desert date oil, with argan oil on global level. And I guess that these projects really have to contributed and to help with different market linkages. So that was the reason why, especially Moses and many other colleagues from GIZ and we decided we have to launch the project we celebrate today. But it's not the only support scheme we have currently in place to bring the natural cosmetic sector further. So that means if we really want to develop natural clusters in East Africa, we need several activities. And the core question today is how we can continue. So do we celebrate a nice and very successful project and Invest in Africa team really did an amazing job? Or is it, or do we celebrate today a kick-off of a long-term cooperation of those companies who benefited? And here the cluster idea comes in place. We make a lot of assessment also pre-all the project with GIZ, where we can see here, these are the activities which are really needed to bring the sector further. Because we don't care whether it's moringa, whether it's avocado, or whether it's shea butter. We found out that all the companies in Uganda and Kenya more or less facing the same challenges. And here you can see the typical action fields where, for nature cosmetic clusters. And the project in Western Africa targeted all these 4 action fields. So this should show that the project was embedded in a broader long-term initiative. And what we also did when we have a look on different clusters, and the project is also a nice example, is that various different support activities and not just training were implemented. That's exactly what I like when it comes to current project with Invest in Africa or this recent one. It's not just training. You see awareness and visibility of the companies were increased. The video has shown that participation in trade fairs were conducted to really help the companies to become more visible, to learn how to present their products. We worked, or the project and other cluster approaches very much worked on the quality certification scheme. We have seen it in the video, but also when it comes to collaboration and cooperation. Here we also have seen that heard that companies within the project benefited and increased their cooperation among each other. So this is all clustering about. And again, the question is how we can continue. So here also examples which were already given by the video and by Terry before, that a very different support scheme were implemented, which is the core of the clustering. We talked about traceability, which really opens markets, because without any traceability, you will not start with any potential buyer, because you really want to know where is your product coming from. And we were very glad with as Antea Africa that we were able to implement these transparency activities, and that was very much on the core of the activities. And here it was already shown that this traceability also helps farmer to get a higher gate price. So these are all activities. We also did the matching, bringing really African and East African companies to clients. So this was really impressively done, and also project companies here benefiting from the Invest in Africa project really benefited because they were really market ready. And some success stories have already been shown here, even more success stories. I'm not allowed to disclose the names, But yes, many companies are within the project, but also benefiting from other cluster approaches, improved their internal production system. We realized also that there were many companies who really developed new products, which were really demanded more than just shea butter, which is absolutely needed to really to stay competitive. We have realized that companies from Uganda were able to reach out partnerships in Uganda. So these are success stories the cluster approach provided for quality and new products. What we can also see, access to finance, which is always an issue, is that based on the clustering approach, where the Invest in Africa project is one of them, we were able to support companies to get grants, to get access to finance, and the amount is impressive. And Terry also have seen that 3 companies, in addition to what I'm presenting, were able to pitch and to get additional money to grow. So this is, I guess, pretty much impressive how cluster companies benefited from access to finance. There was another Ugandan cluster shea butter company who were able, even in COVID-19, to develop new products. And we also, the clustering helped local companies to get in contact with IFC, the financial arm of the World Bank, to discuss huger investments to upscaling moringa production. So these are all activities which not have been happened without the clustering approach. And also when it comes to transparency, traceability, as already mentioned, some of you and other cluster companies were able to get access. So what is now the question, how to continue? And here I would like to make reference to some of the shea butter companies, which were also benefiting, Ugandan shea butter companies who are also benefiting from the project. They really set up an active network of around 35 local producers, which are now really contributing, supporting each other, running activities for experience exchange without any kind of funding. So here we can see that all the support schemes were kicked off a long-term cooperation, and it would be really helpful on the long-term perspective if the spirit of the participants due to the Invest in Africa project would continue, so that the project was not just a nice project, rather than a kick-off for longer joint undertaking. That would be hopeful. If we succeed in that extent, then the Invest in Africa project was a great kick-off in this direction. So this was just a short impression, and to point out that this clustering approach for East African natural cosmetic companies should be a long-term journey to really push this market forward, this sector forward. Thanks a lot, and back to Darcy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gard. Your support, specifically the cluster movement in developing SMEs, has been instrumental in the success of this work. There were so many great things you shared there. I could not repeat them all, but there's one that just keeps coming into my mind right now, and I couldn't agree with you more, that this project, or the end of this project, should be just the beginning of something bigger and better, and I look forward to that in hearing about that in the future. Thank you again, Dr. Gard. I would now like to introduce and welcome Michael Kalo, Dr. Michael Kalo, who was also involved in the project with new product development and module implementation. Dr. Michael, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Daisy. Thank you very much, graduates. I know it's a very happy occasion for you guys, because what I normally say is that life is about graduating from one stage to the other, right from birth to basically the demise. So it's good that you've been able to increase capabilities for your companies to be able to manufacture. And I'll also like to really thank GIZ for being able to make this actually happen and Invest in Africa in terms of implementing it. and bring us on board as partners to be able to work towards new product development. Our experience was wonderful, especially in the part of new product development and just interacting with the SMEs in this space of natural products, and both in Kenya and Uganda. And the good thing is that we have also been able to make personal relationships with the SMEs, and we are still interacting with them day by day. I would like to share my screen on what I would want to do as a presentation. I hope Daisy, you can be able to see that. I work with MNexus. We basically developed MNexus to be able to develop successful enterprises, because one of the biggest challenges for small and medium sized, especially smaller enterprises, is the fact that they're not able to access manufacturing platform. This is in terms of equipments and capabilities, through R&D, developing new products through formulation, developing partnerships, going through the standards requirements, the intellectual property rights, and just through capacity building. And we were happy. We were happy that the participants were willing and ready. Big head up to Moses Munuve, by the way, come from very far. And Eda, I know I've been communicating her through email, through other programs, but the good thing is that at least I've seen her through this program just at the moment. However, for my part, is basically talk about circularity. And especially for the natural products, just as Eda said, we are moving towards sustainability. And sustainability is about ensuring that, we develop circular systems. We go through circular production. And these, we were even having discussion with the SMEs in the workshops that, it's not just a matter of making money and making products, but also about ensuring that you rethink the processes of keeping resources in the system. It's about resource efficiency. It's about reducing waste. It's about ensuring that you are creating new values in your production process. And it's about ensuring that you are also identifying new opportunities to be able to tap in to be able to increase your bottom line and bringing other partners on board. And that's where most enterprises are moving towards. And the good thing is that for the SMEs, we're able to be introduced to new markets in the global field. And one thing I would like to tell SMEs is that there's the element of critical consumers who, at the moment, it's just not a matter of the look and feel of the product, but at the same time, it's also a matter of understanding where it comes from and the processes, because guys are moving towards ensuring that I'm supporting an enterprise that is sustainable, that has sustainable practices, and that's where circularity comes in. And I've just have this one slide just as a thought process to put the SMEs in a thought process to think about opportunities in their enterprises where circularity applies and are able to give more value. And from this chart, it's a taxonomy for circular economy. It's about you being able to think and rethink how you design your products, ensuring that the resources you use to design your products are reduced. You're conserving resources, you are reducing the cost of inputs, and you're increasing efficiency of materials that you're using to be able to design when you're procuring goods and when you are manufacturing those goods. Because when you do that, you'll be optimizing input. And that in itself is circularity in itself. And that even, especially for the guys who were taken through the idea of access to finance, at the moment, there's the idea of sustainability reporting and the idea of ESG, whereby even financial will want to find out, is there an element of sustainability? And you can be able to point it out through practices that you are doing in terms of conserving inputs, reducing inputs, increasing material efficiency. The second part is especially when you're selling your products, think of it in terms of selling it as a util. can you be able to deliver value virtually? You know, can you be able to use virtual platforms like the Fito app? You know, can you be able to lower operating costs? Like when it comes to your packaging, is it possible to be able to develop packages that can be reused so that customers can be able to take it back or can be able to buy it back, and you just be able to reuse it to be able to put more in products into it? That will be maximizing utility. That is a totally new ballgame. You are seeing at the moment whereby even just packages for products, people are coming up with packages that can be reused. You can be able to rethink how you're providing your product, especially for those who have the manufacturing equipment. Can you be able to look for opportunities to be able to sell it as a service through contract manufacturing, bring other SMEs on board, let them use it as a service, so that you can be able to maximize utility. That is a totally new, it gives you a new value chain, provides you new, it increases your bottom line, and at the same time, it ensures that you are sustainable. At the same time, especially when it comes to the product use, ensuring that, you know, you are able to develop products that can be sold, whether it's the packaging material, where, you know, ensuring that the product can be refurbished if it's the packaging material, or just the product in itself, the inputs, can it be repaired? Can it be designed for longevity so that it's just not a one-off use? That one itself is circularity in it. That at the moment is just not a matter of, you know, develop, use, and take it to a waste space, but at the same time ensuring that there's use and reuse of your product. You know, that's where the world is moving towards, and that in itself is circularity. The final part is in terms of retaining value, ensuring that, you know, when you're developing products, when ensuring that there is no waste, there is an element of recovery, there's an element of repurpose, whereby your products can be used for other things, okay, can be utilized for other things. You can be able to reduce waste, so that at the end of the day, the idea of your product having a waste space is the last part of the cycle. That in itself is sustainable product, is sustainability, that is circularity, that is the reduction of waste, and that can be able to even make, you know, your product access new financial products that like green financing and stuff like that. So that's my take home. You guys have amazing products, you know, sky's the limit, but also in your business models, try to think circularity, because that makes your business be more sustainable. Thank you very much. Over, back to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Michael. Again, such powerful words. I have to say that visual of the circular economic taxonomy just speaks volumes. You know, the words of access, resource, waste, bottom line, efficiency, all of these things, plus many, many more that I have not mentioned, really does come out clearly and speaks to how your support along and everyone's collaboration have supported the upscaling of SMEs. This is great to see. It is now, thank you again, Michael. It is now time that we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to move towards the SME show and tell, and a little bit of a panel discussion. So I have a few questions with me today, and I'll be asking our participants to turn their camera on, and when they're called, and speak to the question that I have for them today. I see Joseph Ulapot from Priceless Farms Uganda has joined us. Welcome, Joseph. If you're ready, I would like to ask you, what is the value of employing good manufacturing practices in natural products manufacturing by SMEs? And And how can SMEs implement good manufacturing practices in their businesses in a sustainable and affordable way? Joseph, please.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me and see me.
Now we do.
Okay, perfect. Yes, my name is Olupo Joseph. I'm the Assistant Director of Priceless Farms. And when it comes to good manufacturing practices, so how can the SMEs get value in them? So the first one is good manufacturing practices help an SME streamline their business, because at the end of the day, when you're implementing the good manufacturing practices as an SME, you're looking at your processes, you're looking at your procedures, and then you're documenting these steps. So once you start implementing that, you start streamlining your business. So it becomes easy for you to manage that. So once you start doing that also as an SME, you start seeing improvement in your quality and also consistency in the terms of the product that you're producing, which are very key things for customers out there. No customer wants to receive a product that's not of the same quality and is not consistent. And finally, it's also easy for you as an SME to track your invention, because you'll be having all the documentation, and it's also easy for you to track the recall in case you get a problem with some of the products that you're having. Then when it comes to how an SME can do this in a sustainable and affordable way, so the first thing as an SME you have to do is you have to start small. There are so many processes and procedures that you need to work on as an SME, but start small. Always look at your entire product line and say, let me start by looking at my production or my harvesting phase. And then you implement the processes and procedures and document that phase, and then you move to the next one. And then also the other thing which can help you as an SME is you benchmark on SMEs that have already gone through some of the phases that you're working towards. So instead of you spending so much time and money doing the same thing that I've already done, or trying to reinvent the wheel, you just have to talk to them and they will help you actually catch up faster than when you try to do it on your own. So I think those are the things I can mention about good manufacturing practices. But the key takeaway for me during the workshops was you have to understand your processes, you have to understand your procedures for these processes, and then you have to document them. Documentation is very key when you're doing your good manufacturing practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Dr. Gard, you must be very proud to hear right now Joseph's response to that question. Certainly exciting to see the capacity built within Priceless Farms in Uganda. The next question I have today will be for Joanne Muchia from Kentaste Limited. The question for you, Joanne, today is, what are the benefits of exposure to learning for SMEs through participation in international trade and exhibition fairs? Joanne, please.
Sorry, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My network is not great. If someone can hear me, I would appreciate feedback.
You're loud and clear, Joanne. Thank you.
We can hear you.
All right, great. Yes, I had the honor or privilege of attending 2 trade fairs through the GIZ program. I attended the Anuga Food Tech Food Fair, which was last year in Cologne, and then this year I went for the BioFac Trade Fair, which was in can't remember where it was right now. So in both fairs, I had a different role. So last year I went as a visitor for the trade fair, and this year we had a privilege again to be an exhibitor at the trade fair. So Different learnings in each, and I'll go into that. The first, as a visitor for the trade fair, the biggest advantage was definitely exposure. I think, and especially for it being the first time I was going to a trade fair of that size and scale, the different days had different focuses. There's a lot to explore. There's a lot to see. And it's a lot of things that you haven't maybe seen in your industry, in your country, and haven't been exposed to. So while we didn't necessarily make any partnerships, any direct partnerships or purchases from that trade fair, we did have ideas coming out of that on machinery that we needed to buy, on packaging that we needed to change. And in fact, our latest product, which is coconut chips, the packaging idea mostly came from that trade fair and what I was able to see when I was walking around. So as a visitor, it's definitely exposure. I know a lot of the colleagues I went with got contacts. They were able to follow up on quotes, and some actually purchased. So there's also a lot of networking that you can benefit from as a trade fair visitor. On the other hand, as an exhibitor, again, the biggest trade fair we've done, this is the biggest trade fair for organic products in the world. And we've really had a really good platform to show Kentaste as a brand. Every single conversation you are having with buyers, with people who are interested in maybe the work that you're doing with smallholder farmers or different kinds of stakeholders, investors were there as well. Every single conversation you had gives you a new insight on the 5 Ps. So your product, your price, your place, your promotion, the people within your company. And every single conversation was a new learning. So an example again would be, we learned positioning. Coming out of that, selling what is largely a commodity around the world, which is coconut oil. You have to find a way to differentiate yourself, and especially if you cannot be price competitive with different industries or regions of the world. So for example, a lot of coconut oil comes out of Southeast Asia and is much cheaper because of the scale at which they produce. We need to position our coconut oil around something else. So we chose to focus on our story, on our impact story and origin story. So more around our smallholder farmer impact and the fact that we're Kenyan, and Kenyan coconut oil is not a very common thing. So trying to develop around that. So those are the two main learnings I got out of participating in the trade fairs, and I'm really grateful to GIZ for that.
Thank you, Joanne, for sharing your the takeaways from the opportunity for participating in the trade and exhibition fairs. It is very exciting to hear that that you were able to benefit through this with the support of this project. The next question we have today will be for Nelly Nunguro. Nelly with Volcano Limited. And the question for Nelly is related to market linkages. Nelly, if you could describe the market linkages you got out of the Upscaling of Manufacturing's SME program, and from your experience, what can be done to improve market access for SMEs manufacturing natural products? Nelly, please share your camera and take it away. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me, and apologies for the background noise. Some construction work ongoing. You can let me know if you can hear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So from the program, it was very beneficial for my business. I process baobab fruit powder and baobab oil. And from this program, I actually managed to network with fellow entrepreneurs. And from these entrepreneurs, managed to even get business. I actually got 5 buyers for baobab, and 3 of them are actually using the products for product development. So that was a big win for my business. Secondly, from networking with the fellow entrepreneurs, I got introduced to other potential buyers of baobab powder and baobab oil that are outside of the project. And from these, managed to reach out to some of the buyers And in fact, in the beginning of this year, I managed to get a client who is a bulk client for baobab oil. So I feel that participating in this program really opened doors for my business, expanded my market access. And then thirdly, from participating at Biofac Trade Fair, being a bulk processor of baobab powder and baobab oil, the international market is quite key for us because most of the international buyers buy in bulk. So by participating in the Biofac Trade Fair, I managed to interact with a number of big potential buyers. And from them, I have managed to be in discussion with a number of them, got to understand what these buyers look for, what kind of quality requirements they have, the pricing points they're looking for, as well as the story. Most of them are quite interested in the story, showing that you're producing sustainably, that you're working with women, and managed to interact with a number of buyers, and currently actually in advanced discussions with one of the buyers. And I'd say really participating in this program from mid of last year has really opened doors for our business, because we have at least managed to get 6 clients in the span of less than 1 year. So in terms of the second question about what needs to be done to really further support businesses access markets, I think the biggest challenge that I have seen that we face, especially as African processors, is that we do not have the necessary certifications. So we have very good products that are demanded across the world, but we do not have the certifications. And case in point, you'll meet a buyer who is interested in, say, baobab powder, but the buyer will say that, I need organic certification, I need food safety certification such as FSSC, BRC. And of course, these certifications don't come cheap. Sometimes they cost up to, like, say, a single certification costs like 400,000 Kenya shilling. And as you can imagine, these are quite a prohibitive cost for SMEs in the nascent stages. So I think what maybe I'd encourage, especially the development sector, it's been a great opportunity to access, potential markets for our products. But it will be also key if they can support, especially for acquisition of initial certifications. I think these will really propel our businesses, because say if a business got, like, say, BRC or FSSC for food safety, then you can acquire a client, and going forward, you can manage to pay for subsequent certifications. But all in all, I really thank the Invest in Africa team for the good program, where I got to learn a lot, especially on how to package and sell my business. But most importantly, got to get key linkages for my business that have at least contributed to the increased revenues for my business. And lastly, for even international exposure to what the international market is looking for. Over to you.
Thank you, Nelly. Thank you for sharing. I see a number of virtual applauses here online today, which is great. Nelly, your testimony and your experience and your words really again speak to the value and benefit of this work. We've got time today, everyone, for about 2 more questions. Before I ask that, I would invite everyone again to share their contact information in the chat box. This is also a way for everyone to connect with each other and continue on with any more questions that happen after this session today. The next question I have is related to finance linkage. The question is for Robert Okello from Sage in Uganda. Robert, if you could please describe for us how the investor readiness coaching or training you received through Upscaling of Manufacturing SMEs program assisted you in pitching and securing funding from a financial institution. And from your experience, what can be done to improve the access and affordable finance specifically for SMEs manufacturing natural products? Robert, please.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. And, in business and in manufacturing, whatever you do, it boils down to money to facilitate your operations. And we know money will be needed for your raw materials, money will be needed for your processing, advertising, marketing, and all that, labor, utilities, and things like that. So it becomes critical for gaining access to finance as a process in the business line. We in Uganda must have been one of the few countries which had the highest lockdown because of COVID-19 epidemic. And we as a business, we directly suffered the consequence. We had actually a business lull, if I can call it. And we forgot about many of these things, how to pitch, how to prepare your documentation, how to do the costings right, and things like that. So the time with the Invest in Africa got us back into the groove. And one thing for sure is that the facilitators, the business facilitators, the process facilitators they sent to us for the trainings were so friendly. So being friends first enabled us to really engage on a very, very respectful atmosphere. So the facilitators helped us so much in coaching, in guiding, in improving our business presentation skills, business documentation. I remember the pitch decks, they gave us all the lines of what a lean model canvas is, how the pitch deck is, and how to streamline, distill it to make it so appealing to investors. And that is exactly what happened. So when one opportunity came, we turned in our application, and we went through some bit of final bidding here. And then when eventually the day for the pitch emerged, we went and pitched, and it was a walkover. The exact dummy they will give us during the pitch sessions in the Invest in Africa modules, 7 minutes presentation. And this organization gave us exactly 7 minutes. So we had the drills before, and it was very easy to do it. And exactly, we got the financing, as already we know, and it was $20,000. And hey, that is a lot of money for a small SME. Thank you. And for the second part of the question about what can be done for SMEs to gain access to finance, not all SMEs are the same. Some are really micro, and of course some are more than that, and some are large, small scale, if I can call them. So the typical need of an SME is very, very different from one another, from each other. So you see, an SME is very hard to believe by investors. They will never believe you quite well and easily. It's about money. They want their money back. An investor typically wants his or her money back. So an SME should be prepared to play the long game. The long game means that you start with exactly what you can afford. And in this case, for example, we have many small ways of getting money from among his friends, among his families. And I was in Nairobi recently. You will see a lot of circles on taxis, on matatus. Now, those circles could be the easier, the low-hanging fruits where SMEs can get where SMEs can get their initial financing. Because to get financing, you must really prepare for it. The documentation, the human resource, the audit books and things like that. They all need money. So you really, as an SME, must start from wherever you can in readiness for the big investor who actually is in waiting. I thank you.
Thank you, Robert, for sharing, specifically for sharing on the pitching and securing funding from the financial institution. I can only imagine that that was a very exciting 7 minutes. Again, everyone online, I encourage you to share your contact information. One way that we can keep this work moving forward is by continuing on with being connected and asking more questions. I'm sure many people online today would love to speak to Robert further on what was necessary to prepare for that 7 minutes, and certainly congratulations on that. I have one more question today. This question is for Lydia from Mumi Gen Oils of Hope. Lydia, how have you implemented digital tools in your business to communicate traceability of your products? And speak about the importance of digital technology in communicating transparency and traceability of natural products for SME manufacturers. Please, Lydia, go ahead.
Hi, Darcy. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm Lydia from Momegan. Now, just to give a bit of context, we began production in March 2020 before the lockdown started. And we were a primarily export-oriented business. And then as the lockdowns went around the world, there was just no space to really interact with buyers or be able to showcase what we're doing. And it was really tough. Then in 2021, November, I met Dr. Gad of Anteja Africa in a session organized by UCI Uganda for the National Cosmetics Cluster. And then he said, are you a startup? Are you certified yet? No. You know the cost of certification to communicate about what you're doing. Here is an alternative that you can use to show people what you do, because people won't read your labels, or you can't even put all the information about what you're doing in your label, but you can use a QR code to then have all this information people can read about what you're doing. I was like, wow, this is exciting. We're just heading for our first exhibition in Mwanza, the Jua Kali. And within 2 weeks, we had everything ready. We had the QR code and we went there. We don't produce the cheapest shea butter in the market, but by having that code, like I remember people came and somebody said, like, I've been coming to this Jua Kali for years and seeing shea butter from Uganda, but nobody could even tell you how it is made. They couldn't explain anything to you. They didn't even have the raw materials to show you this is what it comes from. But here you are with something I can use to read about what you're doing. That is so different. Aren't you scared of people knowing what you do? And I said, no, I think people are curious about what they're using on their bodies more than ever. It's important to be able to share information, like how do you do that? So using this, we're able to prepare information that allows customers to have an insight into how we work without really giving away all of our secret sauce. And so we used it for our shea butter, for the moringa, and we have had very good reception with it. And then another thing I discovered about it, as you go around the world, you meet people from different countries who speak different languages from you. But our website is primarily in English. And that's where I saw the secret power of the Anteja Phyto app. It translates your information into the language of the device that is logging in to see what you have uploaded. So if somebody was a French speaker, it automatically put the page for them in French. If somebody was a German speaker, it get them information in French. So for me, it has helped us to communicate to people whose languages we do not speak. We have our basic information there. They're able to use it. And then it has given us an advantage in very many spaces, because we're new person in COVID, but we were able to use this to access markets. And even within Uganda, because people always have these questions about like the value of transparency.
is that it makes customers trust you more, and actually makes them even give you feedback much faster because they know you are open to it. Like transparency also shows our willingness to learn, and we have been able to grow largely through that. And so that is what we've learned from it. And also, like, always being able to share, like, sometimes even when you're putting up posts online, we do like some bit of behind the scenes, like spotlighting different parts of the processes of the things we make. And sometimes we'll maybe, like, recently I had a post up showing how we make our shea turmeric soap. And people were like, oh, this is so amazing. Can I have more shea butter? Can I have this instead? So I was like, that is quite interesting that if you demystify your production, people respond to that and are interested, and you get like sometimes even when you see like there's people complaining about what you're doing, customers themselves will take it upon themselves to defend your brand. They're like, no, we know them and how they work. Surely if there's an error, they will fix it. So that has been the value of digitization for us, and using transparency in our business model, that we have customers who become advocates and brand ambassadors for us without even us having to invest money in them to do that for us. Yeah, that's really been the biggest thing we've had from this process also, like, because it changes how you also interact with customers when you meet them up front. Like, the conversations you have are more meaningful, they're more intentional, and always have brought us good results. Let me put it that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for sharing how you have implemented those digital tools in your business, and it's great to hear that you know, SMEs are getting the access and capacity to start at that level with their businesses, specifically in the natural products SME manufacturers. So thank you very much again, Nelly. Again, I would like to, you know, in order to promote continued discussions and conversation, I would wish to ask everyone online here today, if you haven't already done so, to please share your contact information and connect with those. I really wish we had more time today to have more questions and answers, but it's really important that we move on to the next part of today's ceremony, which is really the graduation and presentation of the certificates for all the participants. There's a number of things that we're going to try to do here. We're going to try to do this our best virtually, which will also include a group photo and to support me with that, joining me here today, who I'm certain everyone knows, is Jean Neary, and I'm going to turn it over to Jean to help facilitate this process. She's sitting here beside me today, so Jean, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Darcy. Greetings, everyone. As Darcy has shared, we are on to the best part of our session today, where we will be graduating the participants of the program virtually. And I will call out the names of all the 40 participants in Kenya and Uganda. And I encourage us to just applaud them all as we go about this. Just feel free to use the React tab that's on your Teams platform, and that will allow you to upload. And then once I have called out all the names, we will acknowledge all the SME participants who are in the room. We'll encourage you to turn on your video so that we can all have a group photo. And the group photo also comprises of all the stakeholders who are in the room. And at that point, I'll welcome Darcy and our country manager, Terry, to give congratulatory remarks to the participants. So let's have that now. Let's move to the next slide. Thank you very much. So we want to recognize all the participants, the 40 from Kenya and Uganda. And I'll call out each of the companies and the name of the participant. So from Agri Nutrition Enterprise, we had Mary Wangi. From Fluffy Butter, Wakonyo Kimeria. Shea Africa, Naftali Githinji. Somo Africa, we had Temesi Weboko and Seth Chalo. Rathia Agro Farm, we had Joseph Gitigi. Blends of Nature Limited, we had Eunice Maranya. Tinton Enterprise, we had Priska. From the United Multipurpose Cooperative Society, we had Nashon Muturi. From Great Global Traders and Contractors Limited, we had Rosemary Muita. Yes, thank you. I can see some of us are turning on our videos. Thank you for that. Let's keep them on. From Waridi Beauty Products and Services, we had Hadassah Kamau. From Bruna Coconut Oil, Aruna Mugo. Binti Naturals, Tetu Karega. Ken Taste, we had Joanne from the panel also. From Just Beautiful, we had Maggie Muya. From Kena Botanicals, we had Betty Katahi. Let's move forward. From Nature's Touch, we had Howie Nature's Touch, we had Diana and Caroline Mutabacho. From Saru Organics, we had Mkamboi Mwakale, Crofts Limited, Miraj Shah, Chichi Naturals, Grace Waringa, and Tony Munga. Brunel Trading, we had Osman Chaudhry. And then from Eco Upgraders, we had Samora. Somo Africa, I have already mentioned. We had Temesi and Seth. From Bokenel Limited, Nelly Gunguru, Kakia Oils, Alexis Juma, and ZA Boost, we had Joyce Wangoi. So those are the 25 companies that participated from Kenya. And then from Uganda, we had Teso Enterprise Consulting and Marketing Association, that's Tecoma Uganda. We had George William Itiamat. And then from Okaplanta Uganda, which is also Mumiden, we had Lydia Nakayenze Shubat. And then from Kesilicha, we had William Screens. From Priceless Farms Uganda, we had Olupot Joseph. Upendo Shiabata, we had Fiona. Nilotica Organic, we had Alejandra Gaviria. At Tuli Farms, we had Dean Mugasha. From KCDO, we had Bukenya George Willie. We had Pelere Group Sandra. From Moringa Uganda Supplies, we had Mulumba Mathias. From Mocha Beauty and Skincare, we have Marion Etienne Businje. Winky Farms, we have Solomon Winky, Sage Uganda, Robert Okello, and finally from Winpreneurs Africa, we had Chai and Mo. So I encourage each one of you to just turn on your video. I can see the audience is applauding you. Yeah, we congratulate you on your participation and completion of the program. Back to you, Darcy.
Thank you, Jean, for your support through that. If anyone has not recognized, I really needed the help sometimes with the pronunciation of the vowels, but that was exciting to see. And again, congratulations to all the participants. The virtual applause here today has been very loud, as we can all see. And this is excellent. We are at this time again asking everyone to turn on the cameras as we take some photos of this celebration. It's also important to be aware that everyone will be receiving an actual physical certificate. So please expect that. Cameras on, the photos are happening. We're on social media today, everyone. It's the time to celebrate, recognize, and one last round of applause and virtual applause is what I'm asking everyone here to do today. And let's do that for a moment here. Thank you. Again, the loudness of this virtual applause is awesome. It is now, I would like to turn things back over to Terry, our Invest in Africa's country manager, to say a few words to all the graduates today. Terry, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And how exciting to go through the program, to hear from all our participants, their learning. It was such a journey of reminiscing, going back from the start and hearing Eda's words of, initially where it all started and the initial challenges. But this moment, I'm so, so delighted to congratulate all our graduating participants and your companies today. You took a leap of faith. You put up your hand, overcoming all the challenges to put your best foot forward and give your best shot to this opportunity. You've been very keen and able to move all the knowledge to action. I think it is really a moment of pride for Invest in Africa, for GIZ Business Scouts for Development Program, and for our entire network, because we collaborated, we came together and rallied around you, but only you could have made it happen for you. So congratulations for coming to this point. I'd like to urge all of you to keep moving forward, keep growing, keep upscaling. Our economies depend on you. So above all, please be a champion of growth and learning for others. And my call of action to you is stay connected. We are here as Invest in Africa and our network members to keep giving you support, especially through our newly revamped Biashara.now. Actually, be on the lookout for our marketplace, which is to be launched soon. This will be great for you to both access additional markets, but also to access suppliers, for sustainability of your supply chain. Thank you and congratulations to all network members for this golden moment. But my biggest congratulations is reserved for you, our participants, and for your companies for getting to this point. Well done indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, everyone. The list of people, partners, organizations, participants, everyone that's come together here today to make this happen is a very long list. Really speaks to the power of collaboration. We at Invest in Africa do look forward to keeping connected and again with everyone. And as Terry mentioned, Biashara Now is out there and available, and our marketplace is coming. I do want to say that we are now coming near the end of today's ceremony. As mentioned when we started, a feedback form will be shared within the chat box here. I look forward to, we look forward to any feedback and all feedback from everyone here today. And this is our last opportunity now to share our contact information and to keep connected. Again, they're not once, but several times it has come together, needs to continue on in the right way for the sake of all SMEs. So this is our last opportunity to do that. Please do that if you have not done so. Camera. As I was saying, to have had the opportunity to meet, see, and hear everyone today and all this great work. I'm going to now, at this time, turn things over to Lim Hazel, Invest in Africa's Project and SME Engagement Executive, for a vote of appreciation and thanks. Over to you, Lim.
Thank you very much, Darcy. Good morning, everyone. Indeed, it's been a pleasure to sit through these few hours this morning just to celebrate a great milestone, as we've all seen the work that has been going on for a period of 1 year and above with Invest in Africa and GIZ. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm honored to move a vote of thanks, first of all, to the GIZ Business Scouts for Development program. This wouldn't have been possible without your partnership and collaborative support in implementing the program. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moses, Eda, Diana. I can see you on the call. Thank you very much. It's been a beautiful journey working together and just making sure that SMEs are scaling up. This has been a great journey, and we're looking forward to more collaborations and partnership moving forward. Thank you very much. I'd also like to appreciate our other partners on the call. I've seen Clapperton from Biz Titanium. I've seen someone from Small Foundation. Thank you very much. We acknowledge your presence. Thank you for making time to be here today. Our partner WUSC, thank you also for being here on the call with us today. I'd also like to move a vote of thanks to our collaborating partners that we implemented together different modules of the project. Thank you, MNexus. I've seen Michael Carlo on the call. Thank you very much, Anteja Africa, Dr. Gad, David Ngechu, and the entire team. Thank you very much to SRC, that is the Smart Regional Consultants. I saw Joanne on the call. Joanne Mwaniki, thank you very much. It's been amazing, an amazing journey. And I'd also like to appreciate all of you for being here on the call. To all our graduates, congratulations. I believe this is a great milestone that would steer you ahead towards your journey of scaling up and making an impact in Africa. So we'd also like to appreciate all the SME panelists for the day. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your learnings throughout the project. I could see all your teachers nodding, and they were happy that you are able to implement the lessons that you learned through the workshops and through the virtual sessions that we had, through the Biashara tours. Indeed, it has been an exciting journey. So congratulations to all of you. I'd also like to appreciate SMEs from the wider IIA network. I could see some of them on the call, just here to celebrate with other entrepreneurs as well and to congratulate them on their journey. So thank you so much for making time to be part of this graduation today. And last but not least, I'd like to appreciate the Invest in Africa Kenya team. Thank you for always working behind the scenes to make sure that SMEs are actually getting the best, and they are learning and they're scaling up to achieve sustainable development. Thank you very much, and make sure you're filling and the feedback form on the chat box, and we would be glad to interact with you on our social media pages that have been displayed on the screen, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Feel free to visit our website. And if you're around Bush House, you're very much welcome to pop in and say hi to us. Thank you very much. Back to you, Darcy.
Thank you, Lim, for that vote of thanks and appreciation. Very, very powerful again to hear all the stakeholders that were a part of this to make this happen. Such good work. Lim, and thanks for stepping in when we lost our connection there for that moment. But you've really wrapped this up and brought it all home together. So this is we're going to close out now here today. Again, on behalf of Invest in Africa, we do wish to thank everyone online here today and everyone who participated, supported, collaborated, who all come together to make this good work happen. This is your last chance here, but you can go back online through social media and still pull out those contacts if you haven't already done so. And on that note, I'm going to bring things to a close today, and I really honored to be here and moderate for you today. Well done, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.